Today we're going to talk about an Ohlins TTX Air 2 versus a Fox Float X2 on the rear of the new Pivot Firebird. I got to do these runs back to back, so I'm going to give you sort of a comparison. Right away on that first jump, I noticed that the damping was much better on the Ohlins, but that's sort of how Ohlins is. If you've never ridden one, Ohlins definitely more damper heavy, less air as the spring, whereas Fox tends to be less damper heavy and relies a lot more on its air spring to get your performance characteristics. I would say neither is superior. It comes down to ride style and how you like your bike to feel. I'm a huge fan of the Ohlins rear shocks. I run them even on my cross country bikes because you can just I like the feel of the damper versus air, but that doesn't preclude me from riding any of the other stuff. It's awesome stuff. So one of the things I noticed throughout all these corners is the back end was a little more composed on the bike when you come into some of the bumps, and it actually led to a little bit of a faster time getting through that section of the switchbacks that are a little bit steeper. And that was kind of nice. I tried to do two identical runs, and to do two identical runs, you skip everything and you just try to push it down hard. It's just sort of how I always do these tests. It's so I can compare it to everything, back through any video. The other thing, coming through this really high speed section, there's a lot of chatter in that section, and then these two larger jumps right here. You see, you finished. I was ahead on the Ohlins at this point. The landing was much better on the Ohlins. I did come up a touch short both times actually, and the Fox wanted to kick, whereas the Ohlins sort of swallowed it. And again, that comes down to the damping. That's really a lot of what that is. So huffed it up this little hill. We're about to drop into the steep chute. We're going to kind of see what the timing looks like. You can see the bike looks really smooth and stable in both. I do feel like you can see a lot more chatter. If you see more chatter in the hands, that can still be coming from the back of the bike. It's not necessarily something that only comes from the fork. The fork's actually dialed in here. It's Fox 38, and man, I really like that fork a lot more than I expected I would. We're in a really fast section. That jump that I just hit with the Ohlins, I'm about to with the Fox right here. The Fox kicked a little again. It's just sort of its nature. And I don't mean like rodeo style or the back's coming up. I mean, you don't feel as like it absorbs the face of it quite as well. We're talking about small incremental gains here, not massive gains. So, let's not, when I say kick, let's not immediately jump in the comments and say that my rebound was wrong, because in fact, it is not. Really smooth through here. You can see the Ohlins is just, the back of the bike being this smooth helps the front of the bike bite really hard. And this is end of the year Tahoe, and it is blown up and loose. You can see how the trail's missing in places, and it just works. Right there, the bike kicked around on the back on the Fox there on the right, and you can tell that it did it. It slowed me down in the corner because the bike kicked around some. And both of these are really amazing shocks. I'm just trying to give you a feeling, the difference between the two. Where the Ohlins isn't as good is really high speed berms. The Fox tends to feel like it holds you up better, probably because of the air spring. It feels like it feels like you can push into it and drive out of the corner faster. Now, as you have more chatter and it's a little more rough, then traction takes over. But when it's high speed, you saw I started to catch up there with the Fox for a minute, and that really came down to the way the bike rode and was smoother. Again, the Ohlins really wanted to absorb that small bump better, which I think led to a faster bike in the broken chunder, but in the pushing out of the berms, those few big berms, once I got the bike stable, I could feel like a drive with forward acceleration by driving my legs in. And I wasn't fighting the damping when I compressed or tried to pump. So kind of a little bit of a comparison there. So those are two of the bigger differences between them. But overall, both were spectacular. I'm within a few seconds on each run. Nothing, and that could all come down to just I miss a corner or I come in a little hot and have to overbrake, or anything could have made that difference. It wasn't significant. I'm going to run these quite a bit and do some long-term testing between them, because these right now, in my opinion, are the two best air shocks you could stick on the back of a bike. They've gotten so good. I just don't even know why you would put a coil on and add the pound of weight or whatever you're going to get in overall weight, depending on your spring weight, versus these two have just become standouts, and they're amazing to ride. So I'll do some long-term reviews, but this was just a quick side-by-side. I did the back-to-back, and it was a lot of fun. So anyway, please subscribe to the channel. I really hope you liked this video, and I do hope to see you out on the trails.